Are we recording? Yes, we are. We are recording this. This is grand. Cool. Kia ora, folks. My name is Rohan. I'm one of the folks that helped run Dev Academy. I've been here since day one of the founders here. And my role in particular is really to answer people's questions and make sure they're in the right place, make sure that they really, they're prepared to come on a program like this and so on, got everything they need. But also I come at the other end as well when you're coming to get work and you really want to find a job and need that sort of support. I support a lot of our grads into work as much as I can, so that they're all ending up in the places they want. Yeah, I'm based in Aotearoa and Upper Hutt, and often work out of the Wellington office. And yeah, that's me. Gabby, would you like to kick off with a bit of an intro?
Yeah, thanks, Ro. Kia ora, I'm Gabby. I am one of the bootcamp facilitators. I'm currently teaching online, but normally I'm based in Whanake. Yeah, so I facilitate the foundations part of the course as well as the bootcamp part of the course. Also working on evolving bootcamp a little bit. Kind of fostering some of the changes so we align a little bit better with an industry that's becoming a bit more remote and a bit more hybrid, as well as looking into how we can respond to some of the big changes in the industry as well, like AI and that kind of stuff. So, not that I can give you very robust answers to any of those questions because, it's something that we're working on. But mostly here to answer questions around what it's like in the day to day of being at boot camp. Like, what is it like being, doing this thing and, interacting with one another, and just kind of demystifying that process as much as possible. I'll throw it back to you, Ro.
Cool, thank you. So today, folks, we're going to go through just the ins and outs of Dev Academy, where it's come from, what we do for our students. We'll go into the details of the program and the course. We'll answer any questions as you go. So feel free to just unmute yourself or chuck something in the chat as we're going through. And we are recording this because most people will watch this after the recording, and we send this out to quite a large group of people, including yourself. So if you want to look back on anything, you'll be able to look back on that in your own time. We'll go through what job hunting looks like, and you can ask questions about anything about that. And yeah, I think that's about it. But anyway, we'll kick on into it. So, we also have at 7, hopefully, someone coming in that's graduated from Dev Academy to talk to you a little bit about their experience coming through the program, what they're working on now as a software developer, and that sort of stuff. Again, just to give you a bit of perspective from the student side of it. Okay. Well, let me kick into it. So as I said, I've been here since day one of the founders, and our school exists really to get people into tech. Okay. And we want to grow a better, kind of more diverse tech industry. That was our grounding sort of principle. When we started, we asked a very simple question to our employers. I sat down with about 40 different companies in Wellington, and I said, what makes a good developer a great one? And pretty much they all came back with, it's the human side of it. It's the learning how to learn. It's the passion. It's the empathy. It's the self-awareness. It's being able to communicate, negotiate, and motivate yourself and others. These sorts of things, which is fantastic because we thought that we were a little bit unique in the fact that everyone was looking for amazing coders, but actually what people were looking for were amazing people. So our program obviously is around software development, but it really is grounded in the people side of things. And we have these 3 pillars here, aroha pono and tika, or kindness, integrity, and effort, and they ground the program. And really, we build off those pillars to produce a pretty awesome and fun course that really does make strong leaders, strong software developers, and strong collaborators. And the grads coming out of the course are often said by employers that they will be the leaders of the sort of the tech sector in 5 to 10 years' time because of the skills that they've got. If we go to the next slide. Okay. So what makes Dev Academy a bit different, and why choose us? Well, we've got 2 styles of doing the program, but both of them are relatively quick. Okay. So we've got a 17-week program that's really, really intense. It's chunked into 3 distinctive bits. One is a foundation bit, one is a real intense hardcore boot camp where most of the learning happens, and then we've got a 2-week finisher program, which is around how to find a job in tech. We've also got a 46-week, what we call part-time program. It's still fairly full on. During the boot camp portion of it, you're doing pretty close to 40 hours a week, unless you're very efficient. Yeah, they're full-on programs, and they're at a level 6 qualification, which is a bit more advanced than most of the other programs out there of this time frame. Our completion rates last year were around 98%, so we're incredibly high. And if you look across the sector, we're one of the highest in the sector, if not the highest. Our teacher-to-student ratio is a big factor as well. So you're going to see a teacher a lot compared to other institutions. And again, that might be a little bit of an explainer of why we're a bit more expensive than other programs as well. That's because we put a lot of teachers to students. So where a program might have 100 people or 200 people on it, and you'd see 1 teacher, you're more likely in our program to see 2 to 3 teachers for 20 students, okay? So you're going to get a more of a dedicated approach and a lot more teacher time. I mentioned before, we teach tech skills, of course, but we put a lot of effort into the application of those tech skills into people and team and that sort of stuff. And we call that side of it human skills. So that's the real application of being a software developer, how you collaborate, how you communicate, how you work in a high performance team. Employers do love Dev Academy graduates. Again, we've really faced employers as our primary client. If employers are happy, then our students are going to be happy, because if they're really wanting our graduates, then as a graduate, you're going to be really looking out and valuing that aspect. As I said before, our employers are particularly keen on our graduates because they're able to hit the ground running, and it's much cheaper for our employers to hire a graduate from Dev Academy than other areas, because they're so ready to work and they're able to hit that ground running. We really pride ourselves on having a safe and supportive environment for everyone. Again, one of the key mottos at Dev Academy is we don't ask you to conform to us or to conform to the norm or a group. We actually really want you to come as you are, to understand who you are and what defines you, and just to understand that everyone in this cohort and in this group with you is doing the same. To be able to step into yourself and to, I think, understand who you are gives you a strength and an ability to work at speed and learn at speed. And that's really what we are all about. A lot of our students will say things like that it was a really transformative experience, that it did much more than becoming a software developer. It really was quite transformative in what they did. And this here is from Caden, that it sort of explains it a little bit. Throughout the 3 years of my bachelor's degree, I felt like I remained the same person, whereas in the 3 months at Dev Academy, it transformed me. Course overview. I hand over the mic to the wonderful Gabby, if that's okay.
Yeah, thanks, Ro. I'm sorry, there's a bit of background noise here. I'm currently in a library, so apologies for that. But let's go into the course overview. So over here, as you can see, and as the question came out, we have 2 speeds that we are running the course at the moment. There is full-time, which is 17 weeks, which is 6 weeks of foundations, 9 weeks of boot camp, and then you have your 2 careers weeks. And so that's the kind of standard time that we've run. It's intensive, where you're looking at about 40 hours of work in foundations. You're looking at about, we say to put aside about 60 hours of work during boot camp, and then careers week goes down a little bit to about 20 to 40 hours, depending on how you engage with the program and the coursework as well. So pretty intensive. Our full-time boot camp is pretty, some people describe it as drinking out of a fire hose. A lot of information at once. We have found that some people like a slower speed, so we've introduced our part-time course, which is run fully remotely, and so that just works at about half-time, and that is about 46 weeks. And so our next course starts in July, and in the full-time boot camp, we have 2 intakes, one in June and then one in August. So across both of these, we're looking at the same curriculum. it's a lot of the same people, the same facilitators, and the same fees. It's just a different kind of speed. So what we're really hoping is our part-time course is accessible to people who have other commitments in their life, maybe kids, maybe, you know, a part-time job or something, whilst the full-time course, everything's going to be on boot camp. Yeah, it really depends on what is best suited in your life. So that is the speed. If we can go over to the next slide. Feel free to pop any questions in the chat as we go. So as I explained before, this is the structure of the full-time boot camp. And this is, you know, you're going to go through the same structure in part-time, just a bit slower. Foundations. So the foundations that I said is 6 weeks. 5 of those weeks are doing work, and 1 week is having a bit of a rest and a consolidation of learning. And this is really the building blocks. This is very, very basic kind of stuff, but still challenging in its own right. So we're really laying the foundations of our technical curriculum as well as our human skills curriculum. Then we move on to the boot camp, which is 9 weeks. And by this stage, we're going to be ramping up the intensity. So we're really going to set you up well in foundations and slowly putting a little bit more and more on you as we go through the course. So you'll be ready to hit the ground running when you come into boot camp. And so this is a lot more hands-on. This is a lot more structured. This is a lot more pairing, which you'll learn a little bit more about during the course, and group work. Whereas foundations is a lot more self-directed with a couple of check-ins with your home groups. Then after that, there is Careers Week, where you are a full stack developer starting your journey to find a job. So let's go into those in a little bit more detail. So we'll go on to the next slide. Oh yeah, this is the part-time course. So this is the speed of which the part-time course would go. So our foundations, which is now at 20 hours a week, we're looking at about 10 weeks. Our boot camp, which we're asking for you to commit about 19 hours per week, so we're stretching that out to about 28 weeks. So there's a little bit more of a balance of the time allocated over those two. And then Careers Weeks is still 2 weeks. Even though I always say Careers Week, it is 2 weeks. Cool. Let's go into these course details a little bit in terms of your foundation. So I said this is very foundational stuff. So those of you who have had any kind of programming stuff in the past, this is stuff like HTML, CSS, and basic JavaScript. You'll get to know Git, which is the version control that we use in GitHub. So all of these might sound familiar to you. You may even know these tools and know them well. And so this is going to be a bit of a consolidation or a solidifying for you. So you're going to do a lot of cool things, get your hands on some tools, and really set yourself up well to be able to do boot camp as well. We also get you in the rhythm of, you know, kind of meeting your deadlines, giving you tools for like time management. We're also introducing you to the other people within your home group that you'll be working with across the entire boot camp. So foundations are setting you up for a whole bunch of things. Over to the next slide. So,
sorry.
Oh yeah.
So let's say on the part-time one, is it just completing the activities online as well? Is it like set activities that are meant to be completed, or
Yeah, so
what's
for the part-time one, the part-time course is just an extended version of our full-time course. But I guess it's a lot more self-directed because people are working a little bit more asynchronously than they would be in the full-time courses. But there's still going to be plenty of opportunities. You'll be doing the same challenges. You'll be going through the same coursework. You'll be watching a lot of the same lectures as a full-time course. You will still have opportunities to do pairing and group work. They'll just be a little bit more structured for the part-time course, and kind of work a little bit with everybody's different kind of schedule and commitments. But there will still be, you know, those kind of challenges that you're working through will be exactly the same, and the opportunities to partake in group work as well will provide plenty of those for you too.
okay?
Cool. So this is phase 1 of the bootcamp course. And so phase 1 is where we are extending the JavaScript stuff that we were doing in Foundations, introducing TypeScript, which is the language we're going to be using for the rest of the course, which is just an evolution of JavaScript in many ways. If anyone is familiar with, if you're not familiar with any of these words, if all of this is gibberish to you, then great. Like Dev Academy would be perfect for you. If you're familiar with them, then great. Dev Academy will be perfect for you as well. We get all sorts coming in through. But what we're doing is we're kind of focusing on phase one, what we call the client side, or like the screen. So the things that you're used to interacting with. So when you think of websites, when you're clicking buttons, when you're playing music, when you're doing anything, you're probably interacting with some sort of client side. And that's what we're going to be focusing on in phase one. We'll be looking at some theories as well, like test-driven development, writing tests. If anyone wants to do testing in their career, most people do testing in their career after they leave Dev Academy. And we'll be also looking at APIs, which is really exciting because we start playing around with data from external data that we can get from other people and start building really cool apps with the help of APIs as well. So really, really fun times on the client side in phase one. And then we'll move on to phase two, which is the next 3 weeks of bootcamp. We're working on the server side. So sometimes we have developers who come in who are either client side or server side, and they just kind of want to become full stack. And sometimes we get people coming in who have never heard of these words before. So it's always like a nice kind of fun mix of students. But server side is essentially your files and folders, your data that you're working with. So we have a pretty kind of robust way of teaching the server side that uses kind of languages that have been around for a very long time, including SQL, SQLite, Express, those kind of things. We're also looking at a bit of authentication, authorization as well, which is the jumping off point for a lot of people who want to look at that kind of stuff in their career. So that is phase two, the server side, which is really exciting because you're essentially plugging in all the front end stuff, all the back end stuff. So you become full stack in the phase three. Why is JavaScript and TypeScript picked as opposed to other options? As far as I understand, the reason why we moved to JavaScript was just because of how many employers use JavaScript, as to how many things are written in JavaScript, you know, how much it's evolved to not only be used in web applications, but in other cases as well. And TypeScript kind of tightens up JavaScript a little bit, giving it a bit more kind of some of this, it kind of fixes up some of the issues that JavaScript have that some of the other languages kind of take care of. And it's really a standard. But usually what language we teach is not that important, because once you know one language, it's quite easy to, or, you know, quite intuitive to pick up other languages. So some students go into a workplace that they're doing Python or Ruby on Rails, and they're like able to recognize it and kind of pick it up pretty quickly. We have the saying at Dev Academy where we're teaching you how to learn. So the possibility that you go into a workplace that has our exact stack is actually, a lot of students do say that they go into work that has our exact stack, but it's not that likely that you would be working with the exact technologies that we give you, including the language that we teach. We're more teaching you how to learn. So when you get into that workplace as a junior developer, you'll be able to kind of hit the ground running and pick things up really quickly because you're just in the rhythm of learning things, and you can recognize kind of the way that the language is structured very quickly. So hopefully that answers your question, Abe. Cool. So here in phase three, this is a very exciting part because now we've done the client and we've done the server, we're putting this together. So phase three, so we call you our junior devs and we see you as full stack developers. And then you really start into solidifying some of this learning. So you'll be working on group projects throughout bootcamp, but this is where we start working on our longer projects. Depending on which campus you're in, those multi-day projects could be things like teacher-led projects, or you're working on a pre-existing code base, things like that. And then you're working on your final group projects, which is a very exciting time where you work in groups, create really cool final projects that you get to showcase to your friends and family and showcase evening. Yeah, so that is from a technical standpoint, the curriculum from phase 1, 2, and 3 of boot camp. So there's a lot that we cover. So typically, depending on whether or not you're online or you're in person, you can have a very similar structure to your day-to-day. So your morning, we give you a lot of structure to help you kind of build a routine around it, to keep you accountable and to make sure that you're in the right rhythm. So we have things like our morning check-ins, our accountability groups. We do things like mindfulness or journal writing in the morning to give you some of a space to practice some of the tools that we teach in human skills as well. Typically in the morning, we have a lecture or a human skills deep dive. And then we go into either solo or pair programming when we're working on the challenges. So this is a little bit more asynchronous during part-time where we won't have as rigid a structure. But so this structure is a bit more relevant to full-time. Then we have a nice prolonged lunchtime because we're asking for a lot of hours of your day. So to make sure that you take care of yourself, we have well-being time. Depending on your campus, you might have yoga, but that's very campus dependent. But you do have a long lunchtime, which usually typically goes from either 12 or 12:30 to 2. Then in the afternoon, we do another lecture and then more programming. And this is when we start introducing some testing as well. On certain days, we do group projects. So on Fridays, we do group projects if it's not multi-day projects. And then in the day, we do things like checkouts, which is usually a fun kind of question, and announcements. And we set homework for you to go and do at home later. So this is kind of a rough outline. It does change from day to day. Some days we run workshops the whole day. And like I said, part-time has its own schedule that it runs by. But there's still a lot of structure around that you can really kind of build a routine around, which is really nice. Go on to the next slide. So one thing you're going to be doing throughout foundations and boot camp is human skills. So human skills, you might be asking why are software developers learning human skills, why we're learning things like empathy and self-compassion. Well, you are humans at the end of the day, and you are doing software development. And this is really what creates like the type of employees that Roa was talking about earlier, is that if you care, like willingness to learn, technical, like kind of enthusiasm with things like being able to give good feedback and being able to take care of yourself, being able to like bring things up quickly, it means that you are a more attractive employee to employers because you work well in teams, you make decisions quickly, and you resolve conflict quicker. And this is really what employers are looking for, because coming out of boot camp, you're not going to be the most flash software developer of all time. That really takes years. So what we're really doing is giving you a foot in the door, giving you enough skills that you can start as a junior dev, but really like training you with these human skills to be someone that like really shines in an interview and is a big asset to the workplace. Another thing is that our value as an organization is to make the tech world a kinder place. So we include things like diversity, inclusion, equity, our working with fertility, that kind of stuff into our human skills curriculum to kind of instill those values within our students so they then can make the workplace a kinder and better place. Tech has traditionally only been accessible to a small portion of the population, and we really want to, kind of break those glass ceilings over there. So human skills is teaching an actual curriculum, but it's also tools that we offer to help you with the kind of intensity of the course. So this is all in the service of helping you have like better group projects. We also do things like offer one-on-one check-ins, offer things like I said before, mindfulness, journaling, those kind of things. So check-ins and the technical counterpart, what we call check-ins, are really the times that you spend one-on-one with your facilitators to help you with what's going on with you in terms of your technical work, and then also what's going on with you in terms of your human skills curriculum as well. So in that way, this is what really sets Dev Academy apart. It's just the amount of one-on-one time that you have accessible to you as you go through the course. And this is really where we see students grow. It's amazing the kind of character arcs that students have every single time we do the course. And we really see that because we spend so much time with the students. Yeah, that is human skills. So we'll go over to the next slide. So yeah, like I said before, human skills, we are offering things in human skills in terms of helping you through the course. We also give you a lot of opportunities to kind of practice your human skills. So we have things like accountability groups in the morning where we ask questions for you to discuss amongst yourself. We offer opportunities for you to engage with one another and to engage with us, and this is usually how we open and close our days. There's a lot of group work, peer programming. We also do things like lightning talks, which helps you with public speaking, which is, for better or worse, a part of everyone's employed life, it seems, nowadays. So we really look at things like that and what's useful for you going forward into the industry. We also, depending on your campus, could offer kind of well-being practices like yoga or other things, and daily mindfulness practices as well. Cool. And that is a kind of a little bit of a run through, a very, very high level run through of foundations and bootcamp. And so I'll pass over to Roy to talk about career skills.
Awesome. Thank you, Gabby. Yeah, so career skills comes at the end, and it's a couple of weeks. So the first week, we're really going through and just looking at all of the things that you need to be able to get work. So we look at the current tech market, what's hot, what's not at the moment. And as you'll probably know, I mean, every market is being just hugely disrupted right now. We've got a massive recession on. It's double downing, particularly in New Zealand, because of, well, a number of factors, but primarily because we've got a government that hasn't really got organised. We've got a government that's also cut a lot of costs. So there's just not a lot of money going around. But we're in a recession, and it's a big one. And the tech market is not immune from that. I would say it's not the worst affected by any means, and it's chugging along and it's doing well, but it's certainly not got a ton of jobs like it did during COVID. Anyway, we go over this each time and we have a look and see what sectors are hiring. So for example, right now, there's actually been a lot of growth in the service industry. So banks, any tech product that provides a service. So insurance, banks, your biggies, some little niche markets as well that have found some funding. So we've seen some funding go into a couple of products that have done well. And we're also seeing those secondary sort of ones, the bigger agencies like Datacom and so on that are hiring. So those are the ones that we're looking at right now. But when it comes time to when you graduate, again, there'll be changes, and we look at what's actually happening and where to get those jobs. We work with about 300 different tech companies primarily, and I'm not on the phone to them every day, but we are staying in touch with them. Bearing in mind, we've also got close to 2,000 graduates out there in roles. So those become a really good place to start looking as well. So we're looking at that market. We look at the formula, and we do have a bit of a formula on how to find work. It's quite different from what you would see most people doing when they look for jobs. Most people go to a job board or look at jobs that are being advertised, or they'll do a bit of networking. I tend to say, yep, that's really easy to do. Spend 5% of your time on that. But really, there's much better ways to job hunt. And again, you'll see those ways when you get into career skills. We do a lot of career planning sort of stuff. So the pros and cons of different roles, the pros and cons of doing different jobs, whether you freelance, whether you do full time, whether you do a product or a service company, these sorts of things. We also go into how to create a professional online presence, basics like CVs and cover letters. We definitely go into interview skills and creating a portfolio as well. These are the things that really, I suppose, are fundamentals, but we go into them in a detail that actually really works in finding a job at the end of it. And the more graduates spend time with me, the better. And in fact, you can use me for as long, and the school for as long as you like. So we've had students. In fact, I was just speaking to a student who's actually going to speak at our upcoming careers week, and he said he took 4 months off, A, to have a holiday, but B, because he wanted to continue studying. He wanted to double down on his coding skills. So he actually ended up taking a bit of time off, not job hunting for 4 months, and then came and spoke to me after that 4 months, or actually one of my colleagues, Steph, and ended up sort of not doing career skills again, but really starting to use us to job hunt at that point. Yeah, and he's currently got a role in Australia that he really loves. Yeah, and it's pretty cool. Can we go to the next slide, Fleur? Cool. So in week 2, in fact, we do this across both weeks a little bit. We do have industry speakers coming in to share sort of opportunities and just what it's like to work at their companies. So again, we try and mix this up a bit so that each career skills, we've got different companies presenting what their culture is like. We record all this content so that you get a bit of an idea of what different companies are like. But again, it really helps seeing what goes on the other side. We have graduates coming in sharing their experiences. And again, that gives you a lot of sort of, I suppose, perspective on how different people do different things. And it's a good opportunity for students to sort of ask anything they like to a range of people, not just me or the Dev Academy folks, but also industry people and past graduates as well. It's a really valuable experience. And as I said, that support to find work never finishes. So I've helped graduates start businesses. I've helped graduates get their 3rd or 4th job. I've helped graduates do salary negotiations, these sorts of things. So yeah, it never really stops. If we can go to the next slide. Okay, so is this course for you? I'm just going to take a quick pause and asking Fleur a question. Fleur, we're rocketing through content. How are we going with our grad?
He will be joining us at about 7:05.
7:05. We might be finished unless there's a ton of questions. Hopefully there's a ton of questions from Abe and GC, because that'll take a bit of time. Otherwise we'll be early and we'll be, yeah, I'll have to sing, which will be a bit hard.
We could also take a break.
We could take a quick break, yeah, if people want to take a quick 10-minute break and then depending on when we finish, and then come back for Matthew. We will also be able to send it out, but it's a great opportunity for people to ask questions, so of a real grad.
I also don't want to take the possibility of Rose singing for 20 minutes off the table as well. So I want to keep that there.
Yeah, nice. My karaoke classics will come out. All right. So the requirements, application process, commitment, success rate, fees. So these are all important things. So let's talk about first the requirements. So our course is hard, and Gabby has mentioned the amount of time you have to spend, particularly on the full-time program. Now, am I right in thinking that Abe and GC, you're both interested in part-time? Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Interested in both.
Interested in both. Okay, nice.
Mostly part-time, yeah.
Yeah, okay. Thanks. Awesome. So I mean, the main requirement for studying with us is that you've really got the passion that you're going to push yourself through it. It's a hard program, like it's challenging. It's really good fun. But if you don't want to do it, you're not going to succeed in it. So and really we're looking for a passion for tech, a desire to learn, and I suppose a desire to sort of challenge yourself and really get into something that's hard. It's really rewarding, and we have great results, and people do love it. But I think the people that drop out, they probably thought it would be easy, or maybe just something that would take up a bit of time and a bit of fun to do, and it needs a bit more effort than that. So that's the main requirement we're looking for, passion. The other aspect is just, do you have the time? So if you're working full-time, you can only do the part-time program. And even then, we probably recommend, if you can, dropping a day. So you've at least got 3 days to complete it, plus your evenings, okay? The application process is pretty simple. You jump on our website, you read everything on our website, make sure that you've got all the information you need, you know what you're getting yourself into, and you press the apply button. You'll fill out a short form, you'll send that off, that'll come to myself and to the team, and then we'll sit down and have a catch up with you, probably over Zoom or over a phone call. And again, you've got an opportunity to ask lots of questions, Again, make sure it's the right place for you. And then we take you through a series of formalities. Because we're an NZQA accredited school, we're funded by TEC, which is a government sort of fund, and also the government regulator. We have to collect things like your student ID, a verification of ID. You'll have to sign something called an offer of place, these sorts of formalities. Basically, it's kind of like a bit of a contract. We also have to, well, we will support you with StudyLink. So being able to cover the program's fees. And if you're eligible for StudyLink, which New Zealand citizens and residents are, then we can help you with that as well. That's the application process, really. You'll get an acceptance letter. It's all very simple.
So let's say for parts of the year, like I can afford to come to campus, but I'm on a part-time pathway.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Of course.
Or are there any specific times of the year when you are not open?
Look, I mean, we have students on site most of the time. So if are you in Auckland, GC?
Christchurch.
In Christchurch. Okay. Well, Christchurch is a bit more difficult because we don't have a campus in Christchurch that's regularly attended. Okay. So if you wanted to come to Wellington or Auckland, much easier. Christchurch, because we don't have a campus, I'm guessing you'd be doing it remotely. Does that make sense, GC?
Thanks. Yeah, that makes sense. Yep.
Cool.
I just got a question about access to tutors. So I'm in Wellington, so I'll be able to access the Wellington campus pretty easily. And say I was doing part-time, for example, and I had questions and I wanted to talk to tutors, how would I go about that? Would it sort of be online, or could I come in, or is it both?
It would be online. So we've designed the part-time program to be done online. Okay. What that means is we would, you'd be going through, and let's say you were stuck on something. What we do is we make sure that there's someone available for you to be able to actually talk to pretty quickly. So what we don't want is for you to be sitting there going, I'm blocked. I can't do my work, and I don't know how to do my work. That pisses us off as much as it pisses you off, okay? So what you would be doing is when you start on the part-time program, you say, look, ideally I'm working afternoons on these days and a little bit of this time here. And what the facilitator will do is go, okay, cool. We'll slot you in. So you've got support from this person during those times. By the way, Abe, we're not going to be able to support you on that day. We just don't have any availability on that particular day. But all those other times, they're fine. What that means is that when you get blocked, you're firing a message through Discord to Joseph probably and saying, hey, Joseph, I'm just banging through exercise number 4.7. I can't quite figure out what I'm supposed to do here. Can I share my screen or something like this? And they would be able to help you out relatively quickly. Okay. They won't be necessarily on the end of the line, but it's pretty quick after that.
Okay, cool.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, that's perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, cool. We also noticed that a number of students will actually stack a couple of issues. So they'll stack a couple of things, exercises that are blocking them and questions they've got, jump on a call and answer 3 or 4 of them. That's totally fine, of course, as well. And they find that a little bit more efficient. Okay. Success rate. Okay, so the success rate is an interesting one. I mentioned to you before that it's very high. And there's a reason for that. One of them has been mentioned before, and that is we have a pretty high teacher to student ratio. You're going to get a lot of one-on-one support. But I don't know if Gabby mentioned the fact that we take education, I guess, quite seriously, in the fact that we understand everyone learns in a different way. So we really bend over backwards to understand how you learn and what you need to be able to succeed. To give you an example, I have ADD, I also have dyslexia, and I learn in quite a different way than people that don't have those issues. For me, I often visualize a lot of stuff. I love seeing people doing things in diagrams, but I also get overwhelmed even when I'm engaging in that sort of way. So I have to get out and do it. And the moment I'm doing something over and over again, that's when it really starts to go on. And to be honest, I don't lose those sorts of skills. I've done them a couple of times. An example of this is I learned Spanish when I was 19 and found it really hard to learn because of my dyslexia. But now I've learned it, I've never lost it. And I still speak it now, even though I hardly ever sort of speak it. So everyone learns in a different way, and we will be trying to find that out. We'll be trying to figure out what makes you tick, what makes you retain things, and what makes you really accelerate in your learning. And that makes a sort of a really big difference in the success rate. Also, we think anyone can do this, and we really believe in our students. And we're not looking for everyone to get to a certain bar. What we're looking for is people to travel a certain distance. So if you started off at, I don't know, for arbitrary reasons, level 65, and you traveled for 200 levels, and the next person started at level 300 and traveled through 200 levels, we'd regard both of you to have had a great success. So it's not everyone getting to a certain sort of level. It's getting you as far as we can push you so that we can see that effort and that growth. That's what success means to us. And Fees,
So if I can ask a simple question.
Go for it, Jesse.
I think you mentioned that it's hard. To me, hard would be difficult concepts. It's not the workload. So when you say it hard, according to my own script, where would you place it? Is it the volume or is it the concept?
Yeah, I'd say both. So GC, if you're finding the concept easy, we're going to be throwing more at you, to be honest. Like there's a constant push for finding your deep end, if you get what I mean. You know, when you're in the deep end and you're struggling, but you're still able to survive, that's when you're learning your fastest. We're trying to find that place all the time. So if you're coasting, Gabby's probably going to give you more work, push you harder, challenge you in ways you sort of, that maybe the next person next to you is not being challenged, right? This is the way, again, that we customize things and push you. So I'll give you an example of this, GC. So we have folks that have already done a comp sci degree and they come to us and they sit next to someone that's only coded for 5 to 10 weeks. Obviously, the person that has done comp sci is much more technically advanced. Now, they go through the program and that person, we'll be pushing them we'll be putting them through the same curriculum, but we might be pushing the comp sci person into stretch material. We might be challenging them on what else they can learn. And we've got quite a bit of stretch material, which they can do, and that will stretch them. But also we might sit down with them and say, right, how are you at mentoring and teaching? Oh, and some people say to us, no, I don't want to do that. And I say, oh, well, what if it makes a difference of $20,000 in your salary? And it means that you can really increase in your responsibility as you graduate out of boot camp and when you get your job. Oh yeah, I definitely want that. Shit, that sounds amazing. Fleur, we lost the sides there for a second. Then people start to think about that. So they might say, okay, well, look, I will do a bit of mentorship. I will try and get better at my leadership skills, because if that's going to make the difference, then that'll be really cool. Or we've got other aspects like Gabby mentioned, we're constantly doing projects and building those out. There are other ways in which we can push you, and that might be we have a personal project that you'll be completing. You can go and extend yourself in that. You can go and look at these end of week projects as well, and go back and sort of reiterate on those. But I don't think we've ever come across anyone that's bored or not challenged through our program. Would that be right, Gabby, or am I talking shit?
No, that's completely right. And I think that's, maybe a different kind of point of view than someone who does a computer science degree, because a computer science degree, you usually, when you're thinking of hard, it's usually quite like advanced technical topics, like really stretched out and really inaccessible. And we try and make things accessible, and challenge hits different students at different times, and it's surprising how even someone who has background knowledge can still be challenged by fundamentals, because fundamentals have their own complications as well. And like Rose said, could be in that environment where you have more technical knowledge and you're working with someone who doesn't, and you find that challenging within itself. And because we're really setting you up for the workplace, we're also throwing at you challenges that you're going to meet in the workplace. So it's not necessarily like a heavy workload or, difficult topics. It can be that for sure, but it's also, you're creating projects and you're building apps and you're dealing with other people and you're looking within yourself and you're committing a lot of time. And that's where challenge can come in as well. So yeah, everyone has a different measuring stick to what challenge is, but as Rose said, everyone is challenged in different ways. And but what we try and not do is really kind of confuse everyone and alienate most of the class just to serve those who want the most like up to date, kind of the most like stretchy, kind of difficult concepts, because we still want our course to be super accessible. And I think that that is challenging in and of itself. And I haven't met a student who's gone through the course and was like, this is easy. Everyone's been challenged in different ways.
Yeah. Does that speak to your question adequately, GC, or would you like a bit more information there?
Yes, it does. I also have another question. Maybe you're going
Go for it.
to cover
Loving
it,
them.
but it's around the skills. So if I have a specific question around the careers and skills, maybe before signing up or anything, I just want to see specifically where I'm looking to be
Okay.
versus where I am currently, and
Sure.
have someone like help with realigning goals and expectations, things like that. Do you have something to help along those lines?
Yeah, I mean, that sounds like you want a bit of a one-on-one conversation with me, maybe not on this call. It's up to you. I mean, we can talk about it now if you'd like, but I'm also very happy to have a Zoom call with you this week if you'd like, around just your journey and what you want to do with that. Is that what you're asking?
Yes, something along those lines. Well, I don't have any prior experience, but
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, let's do that. So I'm just going to pop in my email here into the chat, and you can ping me an email, and we'll have a chat sometime this week if you like.
That's all good. I'll send my questions in an email.
Yeah,
if that helps.
I mean, yeah, definitely. I mean, feel free to ask any questions here if you feel comfortable. That's no problem. Others may benefit from them, but if they're specifically to you and you'd feel more comfortable talking to me directly, that's absolutely no problem. And the same for you, Abe. If you just want a one-on-one with me or with Gabby, I'm sure we can do that. But my email's in the chat there.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I got another question if you got time.
Definitely.
It's around AI and how that will be changing job roles in this industry. I'm just wondering if that will be covered in this course or it's something you're still working on.
Well, yeah,
Hot topic, right?
I can talk to that a little bit. So
Sure.
Lovely.
well, I'll talk to it a little bit, and I might switch to Rowan because I'm not sure because I know we have maybe something about grads, but I might switch to Rowan for that when we get to that bit. But yeah, AI is changing a whole bunch of stuff, and I think we kind of have this feeling that it's not quite taking roles in the way that people expect. That AI is not replacing junior developers. AI is, and many kind of established larger organizations are not bringing in experimental technologies into their workflows just yet. So it's not a one-to-one replacement of a developer. But AI has the ability to kind of supercharge developers and supercharge junior devs. So having developers who are good at using AI is important as well. But we're really here at this fundamental kind of phase of bootcamp. Of learning how to do software development and working in teams and that kind of thing. And being too reliant on AI can hinder your learning process. So it's our challenge of how do we balance this kind of cool technology that's going to be very beneficial for you to have some sort of grasp on, so you can look attractive to employers, but we at the point of time that you're attending the bootcamp course, you're focusing on your learning and you're focusing on the fundamentals, because you kind of have to know the rules before you break them. You got to know what AI is solving and what AI is kind of doing for you in order for you to actually be able to use it. So it's a bit of a balancing act to kind of, and we're having this conversation of when do we start introducing AI? And that's in two different ways. In a way that will be beneficial for you, what is beneficial for you to know in order to be an attractive employee, and also what is kind of beneficial for you to know so you're a good learner. And what we found is that for you to be a good learner, it's still better to stay off the AI tools for a while and just focus on development and focus on being a good developer, because that's what employees are looking for. They're not necessarily just looking for someone who's only used AI, because that is a risky hire. And I don't think that any kind of employer that's kind of worth its salt is really going to employ someone who only uses AI. So it's a really cool question, because we still haven't fully answered it. But what we do know is what we teach is really robust. It's been around for a long time, and that is very worthwhile. And so now we're looking at ways of coupling that with AI. Do you want to continue from here, because I know there's some things kind of in the work. I'm not sure what has been said or what hasn't been said.
No, that's cool. I mean, so my co-founder Joshua is, I mean, he's been looking into AI for a long time. That's what he studied at university 30 years ago, whenever it was as well. But recently we've seen a lot of sort of more publicly available AI agents. We're seeing a lot of companies using LLMs in their software to drive their software, and it's becoming a big part of the business environment, but also the technical environment as well. So yes, we are bringing AI tools more and more into the classroom, and in every cohort that grows in quantity. And just today I was having a chat to Joshua about the fact that he really wants to change the next cohort to actually bring quite a lot of more sort of AI tools into that. The other way to answer that, Abe, is what does it mean for the life of a software developer? What does it mean for that role, and how is that changing? And the reality is AI is changing all of our roles. I mean, I'm an administrator of a business, but I use AI for hours each day. Again, I'm dyslexic and have ADD, so it's an absolute blessing for me. I speak to it all day long, and it writes stuff for me. It's ridiculous. My ability to comprehend and understand and get things done has just increased hugely. So the way it's changing things is, I mean, the most boring parts of a software developer's role are being automated. They're the first things to go. That's a wonderful thing, because there's a lot of boring shit in software development. Gabby will tell you this. Anyone that's a software developer will tell you this. There's a fair amount of copying and pasting. There's a fair amount of searching. And if you can talk to an AI agent and say, hey, I'm looking for a generic something to do this. Can you help me out? What should I be doing? And it plonks something in front of you. You have a quick read through and go, that's pretty good. I know that's going to make sense. That'll work for my system. Okay, let's have a go. Chuck it in, run some tests, maybe get another AI agent to check it. And suddenly you haven't written a lot of code, but you've talked to a few machines that have given you a really good base foundation for you to add to. That's the boring bits taken care of. Now you're doing the interesting bits, trying to make it work, trying to figure out exactly how it's going to fit into your system, breaking it so that you know what the ins and outs are, rather than just thinking things from scratch. And a lot of software developers will have repos, so code repos, that they go back to time and time again because they know that they work and they know that what they can do. Well, AI agents are taking over those background code logs so that you can actually have a really broad spectrum of really good valuable code to be able to cut into and use. Now,
yeah,
you go, Gabby.
Oh, sorry. Briefly finished there. Also, I spent the whole day today actually playing with an AI that JV showed us the other day. So, and it's a lot of babysitting. And again, like I said, I don't think AI is replacing anyone, but that AI has become like a superpowered assistant, and that's usually the role that you kind of take. is that it's assisting you to do your work, but there's a lot of babysitting, there's a lot of watching, and you need to know what it is that it's outputting, what it's doing in order for you to actually finesse it, because it is automating and doing things for you. Like that's an important component to it. And yes, AI can also has the opportunity to do things that you don't understand how to do, which is another kind of, you know, power that AI has to be able to add kind of kind of more features as opposed to deepen the quality of something or to do repetitive tasks. But, you know, and all of that is very, very valuable. But whether or not it's appropriate to bring that into the very like kind of early stages of our course is something that is still being discussed with JV all the time. And I've been playing with the thing today. So yeah, just evolving quite a lot. And you know, it could be different in a couple of weeks than it is now, how we're doing things at Dev Academy, which is really exciting.
Yeah, a lot of our employers are looking for folks that are good coders, good learners, passionate about what they do, and also familiar with AI agents to be able to sit alongside them and create environments, work with them, error check, do all that mundane stuff, because it creates efficiency. So my co-founder runs a program for more senior developers. That program will create a 30% efficiency in their time. If you think of a sector, that's the single biggest improvement we've probably ever seen in the coding environment. So that's pretty amazing. I think you can tell we kind of geek out on this stuff, Abe. So it's a really exciting part of what we do.
No, that's cool. I like it.
I've been working with an AI the whole day today, and I'm just blown away after we had a 5-minute demo from JV, and now I'm like, we're never going back. So it is really exciting. But it's also made me kind of feel a bit more reassured of the role of the developer, I think, because it demystified it. And I'm like, oh, my role and my expertise is still important here, you know? And I think that's an important thing that I'm trying to like relay to the students as well, is that, you still need people who know how to build the car. You still need people who know how to, you know, make a chair from scratch. You still need people who build the AI. So I don't think software developers are going anywhere in this time.
No, that's
or
right.
junior software
And
developers.
Yeah, that's right. And I think that software developers are also the people that get to touch the new tech as well. So, you know, we're the ones that are able to play with the AI agents. We're the ones that are able to sort of get into these emerging areas, which I think are the most exciting. Now, we can't necessarily say that about other disciplines, you know, from hospitality to accounting to banking. I think these sort of sectors are shrinking in a way and making way for sort of AI agents. Not to say that there aren't changes in the tech space, there are, but I think there's a lot more opportunities being created there than any other sector. Can we go to the next slide, Fleur, and just have a look at, I think there are a couple of things I wanted to cover there. So the fees, yes, the fees are compared to other programs a little high. Well, they're justified, I said as well, because our course is expensive to deliver. And I mean, we're not a company that, you know, goes around splashing around heaps of money. We actually use a lot of that fee in being able to deliver the program. We are pretty stringent about the amount of teachers. We're also pretty stringent about our program being up to speed and a really good quality, so that it can be so it's modern, so it's up to date and all those sorts of things. So yeah, a lot of that fee goes into that. All of your fees can be covered by a student loan, so talk to us about that if you'd like to. The other factor is that you can also get an allowance if you're doing the full-time program, if you're eligible. Oh, hey Matthew, we'll bring you in a sec, mate.
Hello.
Yeah, and look, if you're a first-time learner as well and you haven't done any tertiary study, talk to us about fees free, because that is still available, and if it's eligible for you, we'd be very happy to help you set that up. Can we have the next slide, Fleur? Oh, look at that, on cue. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? Cool. Okay, well, this is Matthew. Matthew, we've just had a wonderful discussion about Dev Academy and the ins and outs. We delved into things like AI and so on. but everyone has been waiting with bated breath to hear what you have to say. Would you like to first maybe just say who you are and just a little bit about yourself?
Hi guys, I just want to check my mic's working because we had problems when we were at Dev Academy with that a lot. So I'm Matt. I attended Dev Academy from August 2023 to December 2023, and I previously was a painter, sort of learning about just tech in general on my downtime, where I actually learned about Dev Academy through a friend. And then I finally attended, and it was an awesome experience, probably one of the best I've ever had. I met a lot of great people, and now I'm currently, actually, I moved to the Gold Coast on 12th of March and got a job as a web tester for a company called Local Search. So it's been a bit of a journey getting here, but stuck with it, and it's great to be in the realm of tech.
Awesome. Hey, that's fantastic. Well, I just going to go through and ask a few questions, but I wanted to also say to our attendees, if at any time you want to ask Matthew a question, I'm sure he'd be okay in answering it. But I'll start off with my ones, and towards the end, if anyone that's attending has got ones for Matthew, they're most welcome to ask. But what informed your decision to study at Dev Academy, Matt? What was the process that you went through?
So like I was saying, I was a painter learning in my downtime, and I found it was quite a lot just trying to learn. Coming from getting home from work, you sort of just didn't have enough time to learn everything because it's so vast. And then I actually went to a tech event in Wellington, and Dev Academy was actually speaking there towards the end of the day. And I was like, I'll stick around for that. That'll be good to hear because I've heard so much about it. And just when I heard everyone talk about, or how they were talking about Dev Academy and what they're trying to do for everyone, I left feeling like, yeah, this is what I need to be doing, and this is what I want to be doing. And as soon as I sort of got home, I made the decision that I was going to apply because I was considering doing it as just online. And I ended up doing the boot camp. I'd highly recommend doing it in person, just the environment with everyone, facilitators, your cohort. And yeah, it was just such a good experience and one that I'll take with me forever.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thanks, Matt. And what are you working on at the moment?
So I've struggled getting a job in Wellington actually over the last year. It was very difficult. So I made the decision to move over to the Gold Coast, and within a week I got a job as a web tester, so quality assurance. So it's not actually coding. There's a little bit from time to time if you need to, but it is just basically quality assurance of the websites from the dev, the SEO, people marketing, content, and everything like that. So we can do some design changes in an editor called Duda, and that's the kind of thing I'm doing at the moment, and I'm actually really enjoying it.
Cool. Yeah, cool. And how big's the team? What is it? What's the sort of what does it look like in your environment?
I think there's about 20 to 30 QA testers, and I think there's about 150 to 200 in the office, and they're trying to expand all over Australia, just marketing for local businesses as well. So that's their main goal, and they've done a really good job. They started out in the phone book, I think it was, and now they've come up with the world of tech and incorporating AI and everything into how they do things. So it's pretty cool to see and be involved in.
Awesome. Yeah, awesome. And how are you applying the skills you've learned at Dev Academy in your current role?
This is always a tough one because I think we learned so much within the tech realm and human skills realm, but I think you just sort of just do it naturally, especially the collaboration and communication. I think that's one of the biggest ones. You sort of learn that there's a strong foundation throughout Dev Academy, and you really take it over. And I think also helping people. I started with one other guy who's a QA tester who's never done anything in any development or design. I was sort of just offering a helping hand to him to actually, learn it as well. I know there's more experienced people than me, but I think that's the nature coming from Dev Academy, that the willingness to help anyone else within that realm. So I think those are some of the biggest ones.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, nice. And what was your greatest sort of memorable moment during boot camp?
The technical side, actually, Gabby It was a Monday morning. I was getting coffee in the kitchen, and it was the weekend of our final projects. And I actually, the week before, we had projects with the team, and there was an issue trying to get and pass data from one route to another, and we couldn't figure it out. And then in our final project, we sort of had the same issue, and I actually did it on the weekend, and actually came up with a solution and found a way to pass that through. And I actually said to Gabby that that was the first time I actually felt like a real developer. Because sometimes you felt, oh, it's never going to happen. I'm not getting this, and that was a really memorable moment. Um, and then the tech side, the human skill side of it was obviously a big one. I think for all of us actually in our cohort, we all really enjoyed that. It's a really good space where you can speak to anyone about anything, and you have your moments to share without getting interrupted and that kind of thing. And just the people that you meet there, like everyone wants you to succeed. And yeah, it was just the whole boot camp was memorable.
Lovely. Yeah, lovely. What surprised you the most about your experience?
I think how much you can take emotionally and mentally throughout the whole boot camp. Um, there's times that you think, oh, I'm never going to make this. I'm not going to be able to be a developer. I'm not going to be able to get into tech. This is pretty hardcore because of how much you're learning. Um, so I think that was probably the biggest thing. And by the end of it, you build up a resilience and a determination from that as well. And you've learned so many tools, and everyone, like I said, wants you to succeed. So by the end of it, yeah, you come out of it feeling amazing.
Yeah, nice. Fantastic. And knowing what you know now, if you could go back and give yourself some advice before, before Dev Academy, what would it be?
Probably to take every lesson as it comes. I feel like there was a few lessons where I was still trying to think about what we had just learnt the day before, so I wasn't really focused on what we were learning at the time. So I think that was one of the biggest things to enjoy the process as a whole, because it all ties together, even when you don't think it is, and know that it will come. There was a lot of us that would always talk, oh, this is not going to happen. Like, we cannot do this. And then sort of towards the end of boot camp, everything sort of fell into place. So I'd say, yeah, give yourself some grace and know that it will happen. And also to reach out to the team after um, boot camp when you're looking for a job more. I know there was myself and a lot of us that talked about it. We didn't do it probably enough. And that was the good thing, which I'm grateful for, when I messaged you, Ro, and Rosie, actually, on the day of me getting the job. We hadn't spoken in so long, and they told me that I had to get a reference check done that day. Otherwise, I wouldn't get the job because it was start on Monday. So, yeah, I'm grateful for that. And just that's the great thing about Dev Academy. We've been out of it for so long, and everyone's still willing to help you out and do it in a moment's notice as well, which is awesome. So thank you.
Awesome. Oh, that's good to hear. And look, considering we're someone that might be thinking about becoming a software developer, obviously you've come from a very different sector, and you're now in that sector and in software development. What advice would you have for someone thinking about joining, or either coming to be a technologist, coming to be a software developer, or coming to Dev Academy?
Advice, I'd say stick with it if you really do want to get into it, because like I said, it took me a year trying to find a job, and I didn't think it was going to happen. So if you really like something within that space, just know that it will happen. I think after a long time, you always go towards thinking it won't happen. And I think that's the biggest thing I can take away from it. And also, I got to the point where I had a few interviews over the year, and it obviously didn't pay off. And there was a point where I didn't get a job actually coding. And it was almost like a little bit of relief as well for me personally. Like, I do like coding, and I can enjoy that I can do it. But it also had led me down the realm of design and actually development and Webflow and framer and all these different kinds of things. So just know that there's so many different routes you can go. So I wouldn't put too much pressure on yourself, because you can put way too much pressure on yourself, and then almost to the point where you don't even want to be there. So yeah, give yourself some grace and know that it will happen, and just explore different options as well within the tech space.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you so much, Matt. Just wondering, GC or Abe, do you have any questions for Matt before we shut down?
None that I can think of, no.
Okay, cool. Well, thank you so much, Matt. Yeah, it's just wonderful to hear more of your story and to to hear what you're doing right now. And look, if I can do anything, Dev Academy is always here to help out. We're seeing so many people going over the ditch to Australia to find work. It is certainly much easier to find work in Australia right now, and they're paying more, and there's a lot more variety of opportunity. But I hope to get you back one day soon, and into New Zealand and having your skills and expertise back here. But yeah, certainly right now it can be difficult. I do hear you there. But thanks very much, mate, for sharing those experiences.
No worries at all. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, pleasure.
I'm actually
folks,
got to say I'm in Melbourne at the moment, just visiting some friends, and I bumped into a grad the other day on the street, and they had moved to Melbourne to look for work, and they couldn't get work in Melbourne, and they just got a job in Auckland. So maybe it's just the other way around. It was like the opposite story that everybody else was saying. But it was so surprising to bump into a grad on the streets of Melbourne. Maybe not so surprising, there's lots of Wellingtonians here.
Well, what's interesting is in the last month, we've seen quite a distinctive change. So more people have got work in the last 4 weeks than they have for the rest of this year, like the first part of this year. So it's been a really interesting time. I think that's got a little bit to do with some of the sort of the cash announcements here in New Zealand. People have gone, okay, this is what the budget looks like. This is where the investments are going to be. I can now make some decisions in my business. So people are hiring. We've noticed that certainly in the banking and financial sectors, but also, as I mentioned, in that service sector, we've seen a whole lot of jobs. I've done how many references? I think in the past couple of weeks, maybe 6 or 8 references. So, and that's a big change. I think I've done 6 for the whole rest of the year so far. So that's a really good sign, and I hope it continues to trend upwards like that. Wonderful. Well, that brings us to a close, folks. So Abe and GC, if you've got any questions, please get in touch with us. In fact, anyone viewing this call, get in touch with us. You can book a call on our website. If you're ready to apply, just apply. Even if you've still got some reservations, you can still apply, and we'll still have a chat to you about what it's like, and you can still ask lots of questions. There's no real major commitment there when you click that apply button. It just means you're getting in touch. So strongly encourage you to do that. And yeah, wishing folks all the best, and thanks again to Matthew and Gabby. It's really great to have you here. Thanks for Fleur for running things today. Really appreciate you too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, everyone. Okay.
Bye.
That's it. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good to see
Bye.
you all.
Thanks, Matt. Cheers, mate.
No worries. Thank you.
See you, mate.